seen them.
You've not seen these before?
No.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, let's have a look at this. Right. Sorry about this. Bear with me a second, everybody. We've just gone live, so hopefully everyone who's in the chat box is now looking at my ugly mug. Dom is currently chatting with us. We're going to dive straight into it because we're about 5 minutes late. Welcome, everybody. However, I've just seen a little pop-up. This Hangout is now live, as per usual. Hangouts on Air is going away later this year. For quick streaming, try youtube.com/webcam. Oh, good Lord. This service gets worse and worse and worse. It's truly, truly awful. Anyway, we're here. What I think we'll be doing is we're bearing through what we've got for about 4 or 5 weeks till we get San Diego Comic-Con out of the way. And then we're going to take a bit of a break, about 3 to 4 weeks, just to kind of regroup, refresh, and decide what we're going to do next. Dom has not seen our banners before. The Englishman in San Diego banners. These are going to get retired because obviously it's now the Convention Collective, and we're going to change the banners up. I'm going to change. We may go green screen. Look, let's just see what we can get working first, because it really has been a nightmare trying to get Dom onto the show. But let's dive straight into it. My name's Len Sultana. This is an Englishman in San Diego, Talkin Con, a cup of tea. It's not a cup of tea today because we have got ourselves a big pint of orange juice, because I need as much kind of sugar in my body just to kind of keep myself focused for this, because number one, we've got ourselves quite a great conversation topic to get into today, but also just all of the news that's come out of San Diego Comic-Con this week. It's been a busy couple of days, but as always, if you are watching on the chat room, if there's any questions you want to put to myself, or if you want to ask Dom anything, because we're going to get into the topic of comics signatures, slabbing, valuations, and how to do that at a show like San Diego Comic-Con. Dom has actually been on to San Diego a number of times. It's probably one of the first places I actually met him. So I think it's only best that we introduce him. This is Dom Rand from a place in space. Well, he has worked for a place in space. Where do you work at the moment?
Still do.
Still do. Fantastic.
Yep. 5 years, I think, now.
Excellent. Okay. Someone's asking, is it just orange juice? Yes, it is just orange juice. Deal with it. It's it could have been something a bit stronger, and it should deserve to be. But
I went for stronger stuff.
Lucas said.
Seriously, if you ever have this, watermelon and strawberry,
just give it a go.
It's good.
Good stuff. Fair enough. Well, I mean, either way, whatever we can do to kind of keep things focused today, I think that's what we're after. But thank you very much indeed for joining us. Any questions you have, do let us know. Because Dom, I mean, I think it's best if we actually start and introduce yourself, really, about your introduction to comics, what got you into collecting, and what got you into kind of getting into like the pro end version of slabbing and autograph hunting.
Okay, I've been collecting comics for since I was probably about 16, so coming on to about 26 years. And I don't know, it was just one of those things. It was a local comic shop. I actually bought my comics from a place in space, which was my local comic shop. Then I went off the boil a bit. It didn't really interest me. It got a little bit repetitive, and then I don't know, I sort of got back into it, got back into the convention, started going, and it was the first London Super Comic Con, which was 2012, and I met the guys from Desert Wing Comics, and basically with Stan and doing the signatures and all the CGC stuff, and I sort of went, well, we don't really have this in the UK, so I sort of got talking to them, got invited out to San Diego to go and see what it is, worked with them for the full 5 days in San Diego, and just went on from there to think, this is something that needs to be done. And that was where my introduction into it was pretty much doing like loads of private signings with Stan, and I thought, this is great. You're getting paid to go and meet these people, although you're not paying out money yourselves, and people are paying out hundreds of dollars to get this stuff, and you're meeting him for free and having a chat with him, and and I thought, yeah, great, let's have a go at this. And that's sort of that's sort of where it really, the CGC aspect of it got off. I met CGC over there, the head guys that do the signature series and the head people there, and basically sort of pleaded with them to say, can I do this in the UK, because we have nothing doing over here. And with the help of obviously Desert Wind, I got given the opportunity to start doing it, and that's where it really started off, was there. I mean, in all honesty, the UK isn't really big for signature series. A lot of people, the Blue Label stuff again isn't that big. It's growing. It's very difficult for people to understand the concept of what it is and to grade your comics. But
well, I'll tell you what, let's actually start with that. For somebody who doesn't know anything about signatures and grading and slabbing, you're talking Blue Label, you're talking Yellow Label, you're talking the different types of slabbing. Just talk us through the basics of slabbing a comic.
So basically, you send off your book to CGC. You say, so we're going to go for Blue Label, which is just a universal label. You send them off. They have, I believe it's 3 people will independently look at it, and they will grade it, and then it's given a figure out of 10. So it goes up in increments, sort of 0.5 and then 1, and then at the top end it goes smaller, so it's 9.2, 9.4, 9.6. What you're basically looking at for a modern comic is a 9.8 or above. They do a 9.9 and a 10. Now 9.8 is sort of the standard. Is a near, a mint or near mint comic. If you get a 9.9 and a 10, they're very few and far between, and that 10 is mint. 10 is like no blemishes, nothing on it, and that's what they do. It's an unsigned copy, so there's no signatures on it. There's it's normally white pages. It's just a perfect comic, and it basically gets encapsulated with the label saying what comic it is and what the grade is, and that's literally just a normal Blue Label. They do other labels as well. If we go onto the Yellow Labels, that is classed as their signature series, which is it's a different thing that has to happen. Me as a facilitator, I can do signature series, but what I need to do is I need to have an independent witness who is not part of my company or the company, and who gets paid direct from CGC. We have to sign loads of forms. We have to sign contracts to basically say that we're not sitting here ourselves signing Stan Lee or Charlie Adlard or whoever. And then basically we have to go with the witness to the artist and say, please sign these. And then the witness will go, okay, I saw 10 comics get signed. These are the 10. We give them to the witness. They look after them, and then we send them to CGC. And then we sign some more forms, and then they are then classed as signature series. Then they go off and they get the same process as what a normal Blue Label would be, bar the fact is that they don't take off any grade because of the signature, because it is a verified signature. Therefore, then that this book that I'm buying off of eBay that's signed by Stan has actually been signed by Stan. And it just gives a bit more authentication than technically what COAs are, which, in all honesty, I could produce 100 of them and stamp them, and they're not meaningless, but they're not as highly respected.
Fair enough. COA?
Certificate of Authenticity.
Right.
So, there's little bits of paper that are like embossed. Yeah, some, if you're getting them direct from the artist, yeah, they're fine, but they, on the secondary market, they don't mean a lot.
Fair enough. I mean, I think that certainly when it comes to getting signatures of books at, say, a big convention where there's so many artists, so much talent, and indeed so many crowds to kind of bring, because it does sound like it's a little bit like herding cats, to kind of get yourself to get a witness, to get in front of an artist, which is not guaranteed, obviously, with the crowds that's happening. It sounds like a lot of to effort to get that book, to get that grade, and to get that certificate of authenticity, and to get it slabbed in a signature series. I think the question that I want to ask is certainly when it comes to modern comics, is it actually worth it? Because I can appreciate that back in the 1990s, when you had the speculator boom, and when people were thinking, I can buy a an issue 1 of a Rob Liefeld book, sell that in 10 years, and that's the deposit on a house, or indeed the house, or whatever. That was the dream of the speculating boom of the 1990s. When it comes to modern comics, the sales aren't there, so the numbers aren't exactly. I mean, the demand for comics over the counter isn't as strong. Where are we with like modern comics and actually that demand to get something slabbed in 2019?
Demand is there. Demand
Yeah?
is, I mean, if you look at the hot artists, right now you're looking at sort of Perillo, Martina Delotto, Alex Ross is always hot. Inyuk Lee's doing, Incredible Hulk. Those covers are flying off, and it goes. 6 months down the line, it'll be someone else. Someone else is producing. Clayton Crane 6 months ago was producing all the Venomized stuff. Everybody wanted a piece of him. It's there. The variants are there. I think my personal opinion is there are a lot of variants coming out. A lot of stores are doing their own variants, and 6 months, a year down the line, they're in the dollar bin because they've got so many of them. Variance is a quite a touchy subject in terms of the amount that gets done, and the amount that sort of the publishers are pushing on us. When you go and order, there's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J covers. Which ones do you order?
Mm-hmm.
You then have to look at who's actually drawing them to then go, oh, actually, we're probably better off getting more Fs than we are Bs. Whereas they only used to do 1 or 2 covers. I mean, I personally started right at the beginning. I started collecting Scotty Young covers because they were very few and far between. They would do maybe an X-Men. Oh, that's a nice Scotty Young cover. I'll buy that. Nothing else for that week. Now, all of a sudden, every single Marvel title, every single week, has a Scotty Young cover. You can't keep up. And thankfully, I'm not a completionist, so I do not need every cover that's available. I mean, I bought my first comic book 2 weeks ago, that for the first time in about a year, and that was a Delotto cover of Silver Surfer because I just liked the cover. But then Marvel ruined it by sticking Marvel down the side, and I'm like, you've got this lovely bit of artwork, but a third of the page has now got a big imprint of Marvel on the side, and I'm just like, well, you've ruined that one. But yeah, the modern, it's in demand. It is. It's people want sketches. People want more blank covers, and that's
okay,
where.
Well, let's go into that then. I mean, the difference between, say, an original piece of artwork. I mean, we're talking value now. Let's actually work on that level of it, the speculative nature of collecting comics. The blank cover with a bit of an original artwork on it versus, say, a cover with a signature of an artist and writer. I mean, I'm guessing the latter, anyone can get at any convention because heaven knows we see the talent at conventions on a weekly basis. But that original artwork, I'm guessing, it's quite it's almost like a subset of the whole slabbing industry.
Yeah, I mean the thing with doing sort of signing, well, doing sketches on a blank cover is a lot of people do. The majority of people do it for their own collection. If you do say we do an X-Men and you put on one of the X-Men on there, I don't know, Beast, or someone might not like him, someone might like another character. So it's you never know what people. If you are trying to do a sketch to be able to sell it, you then have to go for the most popular characters. So, you know, say a prime example, 192, Walking Dead. Now, I'm not going to spoil it, but if you were to get a certain character on the sketch cover, then that is understandable. But if you went and got Princess on it, no one's really going to want that one because they want the specific character on 192. And that's where you have to be very smart about what, if you are speculating on this, what you get on the front cover. I mean, this is how sometimes how long it can take. Jupiter's Legacy. Now, I know Frank Quietly well enough to be able to get quite a lot of stuff signed from him. So years ago, I went and got probably 15 or 20 covers of Jupiter's Legacy signed, all different variants. Now, that possibly came out 4 or 5 years ago, and I've literally now just started selling them at a decent price because it got optioned, and obviously Mark Miller's, deal with Netflix and everything else, and that they're making it into a TV show, that then has risen up the price because people are like, this is good, this is a bit of speculation, it's going to be optioned, it's going to be a TV show, people are going to want to buy it. So there's Facebook groups out there that you can follow that do comic book speculation.
Yeah.
I'm in a few of them. Yeah. It's a tough one.
Yeah, I think also the main, I think for most people when they get to something like San Diego Comic Con, it's almost it's not something that they're going to then go out and find the CGC table. They're not going to find someone like yourself. It's a case of just taking the shot. Oh, there's the person in front of me. Can you sign this? I'll buy the book off you at your table. At the end of the day, I mean, I'm going to use myself as a little bit of an example because I don't do get books to sign to slab and to speculate. I almost get them like Pokemon. Got to catch them all because I've got a nice little run of the Marvel Star Wars. I've got all Kieran signed on there, and I think I'm just missing that the next issue, and that'll be all my Kieran signing of all the Star Wars books of Darth Vader and whatever. And also with the Scotty Youngs, I think I'm only 15 Scotty covers shy of having my entire collection done. But none of them have been verified. None of them had a witness. And it's almost just like, oh, well, Scotty, can you sign those for us, please? Yeah. At the end of the day, they're not going to be worth anything, are they? Because they're just scrawled on and they're not verified.
Well, some of your Scotties will be worth something because they are quite rare. To have it as, you can tell a signature pretty much whether it's fake or not. And in all honesty, out of it, why would I fake a Scotty Young signature when I can walk up to the guy and get them for free? That's what you got to think about yourself. Now, it could be. It's probably going to add on £5-10 to it because Scotty Young doesn't come over to here. So, in my train of thought is, if I'm trying to sell to someone in the UK, and he goes, "Wow, what you're charging £10 for a Scotty Young signature?" My first reply is, "Okay, that's fine. I'm charging £10 for a signature. You go and get it yourself." So, wait, hang on a minute. So you've got to fly to America. You've got to buy a ticket to the convention. You've got to stay in a hotel.
You've got to drag all your books across.
Yep. I tell you what, your cab fare from your house to the airport is cheaper than what my book is that you can have now, and that's the way that a lot of people don't look at it. They're like, oh wow, you're charging this much for a signature. Yeah, because you're not there, and it has cost me money to go there to do it. In terms of, you asked the question, how do people go about getting the signatures at San Diego? There are facilitators like me. There's a CGC board, like a forum, which there are a lot of facilitators on there that will basically say, I am going to this show, I am getting these people are there, we can go and do a signing for you. Yes, it will cost you money, but at the end of the day, it's cheaper than you yourself going there, queuing up, trying to find a witness, getting it from CGC, bringing it back to CGC, slabbing it. You basically turn around to someone and say, I want this book signed by this person. How much is it? And they'll go, I don't know, $75, including the grading. And you're like, okay, I'll send you the book in. And then you can sit at home and do nothing. And that's, if you're actually going to San Diego to do this sort of stuff, your best bet is to find CGC, and they'll explain how they do things. Things like Robert Kirkman, if you want your Walking Dead, there's normally a private signing where you just hand your book to CGC, you pay them the money, that's it, done. They'll get it signed for you. A lot of the big boys, Jim Lee is doing exactly the same similar thing. If you want it CGC'd, they go ahead, just hand them the book, they'll go get it done for you. If you want to go meet Jim Lee, I'm not sure how they do it nowadays. I'm assuming it's a raffle on or a wristband at the DC booth now.
I believe with Jim Lee, you have to sacrifice at least 2 or 3 chickens.
Okay.
At least a small child, a small virgin will get me at least Jim Lee.
Yeah, because I mean, last time they would just basically, you walked up to DC booth and said, "Going to have a wristband for the Jim Lee signing," and they'd give it to you, and then that was it. I mean, maybe you have to now enter a raffle. I don't know. This is where it's going.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Well, I mean, this is lottery. This is where we're going to get into in a couple of weeks' time when they open up the lottery system for this year, because there are a number of DC talent where it's all wristbands and it's all lotteries. Is
it now gone to lotteries?
It is, yes. Certainly for the big boys. I mean, it was last year when they introduced lotteries at San Diego and at the DC booth, and this is where you're going to look at me and hate me, because I did get a Jeff Johns signing set up.
Nice.
At which point I didn't have any books. So I just went up to him and shook his hand and said, "Can you come on my podcast and my hangout, please?" He said yes. Has he been on my podcast yet? No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't. Son of a bitch. Anyway, hi Jeff. Nice to say. Yeah. But it was a case of getting the chance to meet him and shake his hand and thank him for all the work that he's done. But I mean,
if people are desperate for Jim Lee signatures and they want something on their book, just go and get it CGC'd. It's going to save you so much hassle. Even if you don't want it graded, let them grade it and just crack it open and keep it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think
what's the kind of price for doing something like that?
I think, okay, so over in America, I think you're looking at $38 for the grading. Then you're looking at, I'm not sure what Jim is at the moment, maybe 30, I'd say between $30 and $50 a signature, and then you've got postage back, so call it another 20. So you're probably all in maybe $90.
Wow.
But then if you think about it, okay, so if you were to do that on your own, if you were to go and get your book, go to CGC booth, first of all, you have to win the lottery. Then you have to be able to queue up. The queue's probably going to be 2 or 3 hours of you missing what else is happening at San Diego. Then you've got to then go back and and then you have your book. So how much is 3 hours of your time at San Diego worth? You could the signing could be on the dreaded Friday for Hall H. So you're going to miss Friday, are you? Probably not. For $90, and you get your book signed, and you're in Hall H. It's probably a decent deal, in my opinion, and you get to see the con.
True.
But but that's another subject about queuings at San Diego.
I think that's
won't go
also
there.
that's the whole element of the I mean, we've got somebody who's saying that we've got into the Blue Mister who's making the comment. I think a lot of comic book fans are split down the middle when it comes to slabbing. They either love it or hate it. But I think that's also down to what you're saying there. But I think it's also that difference between speculating on an almost professional level, where you are paying somebody to do this service for you, or you are a fan that wants to be in front of someone to show your appreciation and to ask them to get the book signed. It's that kind of, it's the disparate side of collecting at the end of the day.
I mean, the facilitators offer a service for someone that cannot get to that convention and wants the signing. Now, if you are at a convention and you want to meet the people, go ahead. It's probably best to do that. At the end of the day, you don't need your book to get graded. You just want to meet them to sign your comic, and you're happy. A lot of people cannot do that. A lot of people want to have a 9/8 signed by Jim Lee because it retains a certain amount of value. Unless, of course, all of a sudden we have 10,000 9/8s of Jim Lee signed, then obviously the value is going to go down. But yeah, I mean, the comment is correct. People either love it or hate it.
Yeah,
it is. People will say comics are meant to be read, and why are you encapsulating it? And I think, well, okay, Amazing Fantasy 15, that stuff should be encapsulated because it's protected.
Yeah,
and it's looked after. Modern comics, yes, people are completionists. They want the whole Walking Dead 192 issues and the variants and the sketches and everything, all 9/8, and they'll go to extreme lengths to find that.
I mean, like I said, I think the three that I've actually got, which I'm I'm proud of, like say the Scotty Young collection, the Kieran Gillen, which I will probably add to Jamie McKelvey when I get the chance, and the artists of those particular books when I get the opportunity. But that's more just because I'm a Star Wars fan. I've got the collection there, and if the artist happen to come to the UK, then we'll give it a go. But I think for myself, my personal favorite collection, which I went out of my way, I took hours out to get this to happen, was the Civil War, the Kim Jong-gi collection. The idea being that I wanted to get all 6 covers, and I want to get them framed, and I want to, that's for me, and I know that's to have it framed and put it into a frame. That is not something to then get out and read anymore. It's more to appreciate it like that, and I think it's very much what you're saying there is what you want to get out of slabbing it.
I mean, everybody has their own way of doing things, and there's no right or wrong way of doing it. It's how you want to do it. And, if you want to get 9/8s, people can facilitate that. If you want to get raw signed, there are services in the UK that do that as well. You can actually pay someone who goes to a convention and he will go and get stuff signed for you. And I think it's minimal. It's like £5 to £7 a signature.
Yeah,
and that saves you, a fortune if you had to go there yourselves. But talking about you're wanting to get stuff framed.
Yeah,
you see here, look, if you can see that.
Hello, darling.
So that is the Grimm Fairy Tales. What issue is that? Grimm Fairy Tales number 4. So that cover was done by Al Rio, and that's the actual original artwork for it.
Nice.
With the actual cover right next to it.
Nice.
So that's the sort of stuff that you can get done.
Yeah. Although I'm quite downstairs in the living room is the Scotty Young poster that you've got in the behind you.
Oh, my back, yes.
Yeah, I got that one signed by Scotty with a Thanos in the background, so I'm particularly happy about that.
Yeah, mine's signed. Where am I going? About there is mine signed.
Yeah, it's a good poster, is that?
So you still must have the DVD box set collection that you had to buy.
Yes, and I'm still waiting for Phase 3 to get announced and find out what the hell that's going to encapsulate. Fair enough. I think something I wanted to talk about, and this really does kind of only apply really to here in the UK, but I suspect also in the US as well. We'll take it in the opposite direction.
Yep.
When talent comes from another country to the UK and does signatures and does signings, does that kind of take a little bit of the value away from their books? So, for example, over to London Film and Comic Con this year, for the time, someone's managed to drag him onto a plane. We've got Rob Liefeld. Now, over here in the UK, then, Rob Liefeld signatures are going to be half-decent business because at the end of the day, like you say, the only way you can get them signed is in the US and in Canada. Yep. Now he's coming to the UK, though. Does that do anything with the prices of Rob Liefeld stuff? Taking that in the opposite direction, say when the UK talent goes over to the States, does that kind of change the value for collectors in the US?
I mean, the demand isn't there for them. A prime example is Charlie Adlard doesn't go to the US anymore, so the demand for his signatures by the US is quite high now because he's very few and far between.
Sure.
I don't really collect Rob Liefeld signatures in all honesty, and I probably wouldn't pay the £50 or £60 that London Film are charging for it either. But the demand will be there. People want to go meet the creator of Deadpool. You know, after the films, the demand has just risen, and I mean, I don't deal with importing the stuff from America, so I don't know what the demand is. I would suggest that demand will probably go down from people buying his signatures from America if there was any demand at all for it.
Fair enough.
I mean, that's. I mean, that's the best answer I can give.
No, that makes sense, and not only that, but you kind of answered it as well with the Charlie Adlard element as well. That makes, in the opposite direction, that makes a lot of sense as well. Let's go through a couple of comments on the chat box. So thank you very much indeed for everyone who's jumped in on this. Andrew English, I think out of my 26 boxes of comics, Superman 75 polybagged, unbadged. With armband, is my most expensive, but it's just backing board and poly cover as protection. So I think it's just it's an item that he's bought. It's in his collection. It's on the shelf, and it's absolutely. Let's have a look at this. Angela Copley's here. Haven't been on here in forever. It's good to have you joining us again, Angela. Mr. Into the Blue Mister has got 2 comments, which makes me chuckle. Number 1, I took 8 volumes of the Hellboy library editions to get signed by Mignola at Thought Bubble in 2016. Nearly gave myself a hernia, which I can totally understand. They're not light collections. They're not light to carry. But he also turns around and asks, has any creators refused to work with CGC? Yes. Anyone in you name or?
No.
No. Fair enough. Okay.
Yes, people have refused to work with CGC and CBCS.
Why did they refuse? What's their reasoning for it? Is it just not liking the slabbing mentality, putting books behind plastic, that kind of thing?
I don't know what I mean, they come out with the reason, whether or not it's the true reason. Okay, at the end of the day, people will flip CGC books. People will go, and there's always been especially in the UK, a mentality that we do not pay for signatures. Now, that is changing because people are charging. I mean, for example, you can walk up to an artist and he'll say, right, the first 5 are free. If you are having anything signed for CGC, it's $10 because they want a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
Because I can go and get a $3.99 book. I can add a signature onto it. I can get it graded and I can sell it for I don't know, £75 if it's a hot book and it's a hot artist. Now, the artists and the writers admittedly want a bit of the action, so they'll charge for the signatures. And in all honesty, I've got no problem. If I'm doing a private signing with someone, you are taking time out of your day. You're not working, so you're not earning money. So the least I can do is pay you for your signatures. Not a problem.
Where does Comic Artist Pro come into that?
In terms of Comic Artist Pro, as
Comic
in
Artist Pro, this is the company that deals with almost like an agency to get talent over here in the UK, and I believe they also operate out of the States as well. And it's basically an agency for comic artists, and they insist that their talent charge for their signatures.
never heard of them.
Ah, well, okay.
I'm gonna now. You see, this is the problem. I'm gonna have to now Google this. I
believe it's Comic Artist Pro.
There's Comic Artist Pro.
This is where I'm going to have to check. I've got the name right now.
there's I mean, there's a few companies like Comic Sketch Art who
that might be the ones. Sorry,
okay.
That might be it.
Run by a guy called Doug Peters.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there is demand for it. And yes, they basically are representing them. They rep them like any TV show. They will rep them. They will set their prices. They will agree signings. I mean, I've got no problem with it myself. It's changing the industry, most definitely. There's a lot of people trying to get a slice of the pie.
I think that's the thing that I've noticed with more cons. I mean, like I say, it's not something that I do. It's only something that I've kind of seen out of my periphery. And going to a major convention like San Diego Comic Con, 2010 was my first one for San Diego. And over the 10 years, I have seen the increase in that kind of everyone just trying to get their slice of the pie, which kind of pushes the price up. And the
price is up, yeah.
Sure. Sarita P is saying, I was thinking about bringing the IDW Jim Lee to San Diego Comic Con, but then I said I like walking without bending over and using a walking cane in my future. Yeah, those are big books. I mean, is it the floppies that kind of get the most attention, or is it the trades? Or I mean, what's the kind of the demand?
Well, you can only get graded stuff. Is basically magazines and normal issue comics. You can't get anything else. Although, ironically, I think I have seen one graphic novel being graded, which I wasn't quite sure why. But it's generally floppies and magazines. Generally, the trades they're there normally for people that want to keep it, and they don't get good luck to try and ask CGT to give you a omnibus case to fit it in.
Fair enough. Leanne D is asking, hopefully Leonard will send me the Chris Claremont sketch, which yes, I have got a little card with Chris Claremont from MCM last year. It's going with Neil and Sharon. Okay, we're going to have to coordinate and get that to you. Dan Berry is also asking, what's your thoughts on PGX grading service?
No comment. I must remain. Okay, diplomatic as possible. There is two grading companies, CGC and CBCS, and CGC command the higher price. So if I had 298s of the same book, CGC will command a higher price than CBCS, and I don't even know where PGX would be.
Fair enough. We've also got a couple of comments. Dan Berry, I got 2 books signed by George Perez this weekend, one of which I also got signed by Lim, Stalin, and Rubenstein. I'm kind of guessing that he didn't get those verified. Can you actually get signatures where they haven't been verified, where there isn't a witness? Can you get them kind of assessed as being official signatures?
If I'm okay, I mean, I don't deal with CBCS. I purely deal with CGC.
Sure.
I think that unless they've stopped it, but CBCS used to do a verification program where you can send off your comic, they will verify the signatures, and then they will give a grade based on that. If I remember correct, I mean, I'm trying to think now. I think it comes back like a red label, which is a verification label. But again, I'm not up to date with CBCS.
Fair enough.
CGC stuff, yeah, fine. But yeah, yes, Dan, you can send them. Was it Dan that said it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, you can send them off to be verified, but CGC you most definitely cannot.
Fair enough. Where do you see comics and speculation going at the moment? Can you see? Because we constantly talk about how the interest is in the characters and in the branding and in the films and television. The comics don't seem to be selling, and the numbers seem to be dropping. Where do you see that as from a collector's standpoint and from a speculator standpoint? Can you see that maybe there may a demand for these books down the line, while at the moment the industry is in some kind of decline?
I mean, everything, you know, it's like a crystal ball, looking in a crystal ball and saying, you know, what is going to be hot. People gamble on first appearances or something, or the death of someone. Obviously, again, not wanting to spoil anything, but 192. It could be a hot book. It could be a good speculative book, but the tens of thousands of copies that has been printed for that book, I don't know. And it's a difficult, you know, people are also trying to a lot of variants. They're saying there's a print run of 3,000, but we're going to, you know, not release 1,000 of them, so the print runs 2,000, so they're a little bit more scarce, and trying to make the demand there. When does that make sense? No,
it makes sense.
They're trying to be a little bit. I don't know. If the print runs 3,000, the print runs 3,000, regardless of what you do to 1,000 of them. If you go and burn them, the still print runs of 3,000. So enough. They're trying to make a scarce commodity out of something that really isn't. But from a speculative point of view, I mean, first appearances.
It's safe to say you're still in the game, so
but
first volumes.
First appearances and deaths is pretty much the most sought after way to speculate. You know, first appearance of Spider-Man.
Yeah,
it goes up in price. I mean, in my personal opinion, modern comics are good. If you if I had, for example, someone was selling a Amazing Fantasy 15 graded 5.0 for £35,000. Now, that's very tempting. It's actually a pretty good price for that book. You stick it in, you go and hire a bank vault, or, you know, a storage box, stick it in there in the pitch black, won't get degraded, come back in 5 years' time, that 35 grand will be 70 grand. It's the Bronze Age stuff, that Silver and Bronze Age stuff is the stuff to go for. And there's not enough of it in the UK. Silver Age is difficult.
Fair enough. And I think the other thing I wanted to very quickly ask is about, I mean, we've been talking about the creative talent of inside the books. What about actors? Say, for example, let's go for, the Chewbacca Star Wars run, and you had Peter Mayhew signing it. And now, obviously, that value is going to go up with his passing, but do the non-comics talent signing books, do they add anything to a value?
Yeah. I mean, they're getting more and more involved. I mean, for example, like Jason Momoa, or having Rick, Andrew Lincoln sign your book, or they yeah, because they charge, they're looking, you're looking at $200-300 to get it done. I mean, generally, a lot of people will get them done for their own personal collection. They will take orders on it and say, we will guarantee a 9.8 of this book. Brie Larson, we'll guarantee a 9.8 of this book, and it's going to cost you $400. And people will buy it. Whether they're speculating on it or they just want it, that's another matter.
That's a whole other ball game.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the thing is, probably 2012, 2013 London Film and Comic Con, I queued up for Daryl Dixon and got 20 signatures for 15 quid a pop. Now you can't get him for less than 120. So, but the thing is then you got them at £15 a pop. You sold them at £55 a pop. So you made your money. So, but now if I kept hold of them, I could have probably sold them for £200 a pop. So, you get it, speculate. If it hits it, sell it. Don't get. I mean, one of the biggest mess ups I ever made was a Walking Dead. Now I got this. It was on a Black Friday. It was a limited print run of 250 of issue 100. Now I got it signed by Robert and Charlie. I got a sketch of Glenn on it and Negan, and I got Robert to write. And I know this is quite early. I got fuckity fuck. Now, I was all in probably maybe £200. I sold it for about £550, £600. So that was a nice speculative deal. It's now worth £1,500. But that's 5 years ago. So when I sold it, I was happy. The person that bought it was happy because he bought it, and now he's made money. And he probably won't sell it because this guy seemed like he wasn't like a speculator. He seemed as if he wanted it for his collection. But there are other times when you've bought something and it sits in a cupboard for years because no one wants it.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's safe to say that my signed Frank Miller DK31, that won't go anywhere. What else? My Scotty Young sketch, that probably won't go anywhere. Yeah, it's all down to whether you are wanting to sell on them or if it's just something that you're wanting to enjoy. I mean, for example, I've got Sarita P, and we'll just make this comment and then we'll let you get off because Sunday and all of that. That's the let's have a look. I've got a Detective 880. No, this is Into the Blue Mister. Sorry, I've got a Detective 880 signed by Snyder and Jock, which I could send off to CBCS, but I'd rather keep it raw and occasionally take a deep breath. Everyone, read it every now and then. So fair enough.
Just fan the paper and just smell brand. There's no nice. I mean, like a book. You can buy books on Kindle, but you can't smell it.
No,
and that sounds really bad. And we'll leave on that that comment.
Absolutely. So, Sarita P, that's the problem with artists charging now. They think that everyone will get a book or book signed, will get it CGC without the artist and sell it later. I get it signed because I enjoy it. That's probably the best way to approach it, I suspect.
Yeah, actually, going back to someone said, do artists have not wanted or stopped signing for CGC and CBCS? I think that was probably the reason why. I've been trying to remember it. I think what happened is someone brought over a book and basically either ended up not paying for the signing because it was being CGC'd, or didn't tell them that they were having it graded. Therefore, then they should have paid the money and never did. And then it was Stalin. Was it Stalin? No. Yeah. So I think someone didn't pay for it, should have paid for it, said they were going to come back and pay for it, never paid for it, and then he basically just went, I'm not signing for anybody. And that was it. I mean, you never know until you actually, I can't comment on it because you never know until you're actually the person. Unless I was standing there, then I'd know exactly what happened. It's all rumours. Who knows?
Fair enough. If you could tell us some social media details or some web links, tell us about the service you work for. Best way for people to keep a track on what you do.
It's just a place and space. Just Google us. Very simple. Yeah, probably the majority of people have either bought from us at one time in their life. We are.
I get this sneaky feeling I bought off you this week because I got the black cat. I bought the black cat Scotty. So yeah, that's
People go to I meet people and they go, oh, what do you do? I said, I work for a place and space, and they turn around and they go, yeah, I've bought from you, and I said, yeah, that generally tends to happen. Yeah, a lot of people have, but yeah, I mean, business is good. Business is we're busy. Excellent, which is good.
Fair enough. Listen, thank you very much indeed for coming on and talking about this, John, because it's something which I know a lot of people see a little bit of science and a little bit of voodoo going on about exactly the kind of the workings of grading, and I think it is more a case of just separating down to either being a speculator or someone who's a real fan of comics, and you can appreciate it in both ways.
In both ways, I mean, it's purely up to you. But as I said, if anybody wants stuff graded or wants any information, just drop us an email.
Sounds like
hit us up on Facebook.
Excellent stuff. Sounds like a plan. Don, thank you very much indeed, mate. Thanks for coming on and talking to us, and we will speak to you soon. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, mate.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. So there you go. Dom Rand. Do check him out on Facebook, and do check out A Place in Space, because they really are a great company. They do some great prices for their books online as well, especially if you are based in the UK. Obviously, exporting a little bit harder, a little bit more expensive, but they are a great company for finding good books and keeping a close eye on what's hot and what's not. Well worth checking out. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of the things before we do wrap up our show today. Some things that have happened this week, especially when it comes to San Diego Comic Con. 5 and a bit weeks to go. Not that long now. I mean, it's very close indeed. And yes, badges are starting to roll out. If you are based in the US, then you'll know that if you are a badge buyer for San Diego Comic Con, your badges may have arrived in your mailbox already. Now, they are coming in a very, very nice box indeed, which do come with the San Diego 50 Comic Con logo, which is the kind of based on the old style logo of the San Diego Comic Con back in the 1970s, celebrating the 50 years. But inside as well, I think the thing that has got everyone's attention is the 4 badges which are coming as part of the set. These are the pins, of which there are 4 of them. There is once again that kind of hippie style San Diego Comic Con 50 badge. You've got a toucan badge as well, based on the original toucan design, so very much the orange beak and the green feathers, so very much based on the original design. You also have the Golden State Comic Con badge, which I'm a personal fan of, and I will possibly be going on eBay to try and track that down. And you also have the stylized Comic Con badge with the 50 alongside, which we have seen on the website at the moment. Like I say, these started rolling out over the course of the weekend. I believe it was yesterday, Saturday or Friday, when they started arriving on people's doorsteps. They are very, very impressive indeed, and you can get one of those pins inside of your inside your box. I've spotted it on Reddit, I've spotted it on Facebook, I've spotted it on the Comic-Con forum. There are swapping forums already for those people who want to get the pin that they want, or indeed try and collect all 4. If you do get to the chance to do that, do it, because they are very, very tasty indeed. The one thing I noticed with the pins when they got released with the boxes last year, they're very big and they're very mighty pins. They're very much worthwhile for freebies that come inside the boxes. They're not too shabby at all. It's very, very good indeed. I am waiting on somebody to actually take the booklet and possibly scan it, because I really wouldn't mind seeing all the various elements of the booklet. And I believe it may actually also have a confirmation of next year's dates in there as well. But we kind of know those dates already because they were already allocated to the convention center. So it's around this time, around the same time in July next year as well. Let's have a look. The unofficial blog actually posted something about this, and it's a very good point. Do please, if you get yourself your Comic-Con badge, please don't post a picture of it with your name on view in the picture. You can brag and you can be very happy about the fact that your badges arrived, but please try and keep your name out of the photos that any you can take, mostly because these details have been used. The photos have been used and the names have been used for reselling on spurious sites such as eBay and the like. At the end of the day, your name is the one that's going to get flagged. So it's best to just keep all that kind of speculation out of it. Just be very careful. So just please don't ever post a photo of your badge on social media. Scalpers are keeping a close eye on that, and just be very, very careful indeed. Andrew Dickinson is asking the question, the tickets intrigue me. Are they different scanning ones this year? There is a slight change, whereas before you actually had an RFID sticker or an element to the actual badge itself. That has now been removed and is actually on the holder itself. It's the RFID is actually on the actual plastic holder. The badge actually slides inside and is separate from the holder as per usual, but the RFID is not part of the badge, it's part of the holder this time round. I kind of see the sense in that at the end of the day, when you are getting a replacement, if you lose the badge, you're not replacing the badge as such, which is personalized to you, you're replacing the RFID technology, which kind of makes sense. So yeah, it's a slightly different RFID technology, but it's actually part of the plastic holder and not the badge itself. The badges are going out, and yes, I think myself and my missus, who has been rather cynical in pointing out that they have been forever The Walking Dead. I actually thought that perhaps we might be seeing something like one of the Walking Dead spin-offs, or Fear the Walking Dead, or something other than. No, it's The Walking Dead. So yeah, it's the tradition continues. And do you know what? If I can see them doing The Walking Dead on every badge, even once The Walking Dead's been and gone, just to kind of like keep that continuity going, I can totally see that. A couple of things that did get announced this week, which was rather cool. You've got yourself the Patrick Ballesteros exclusives, which are rolling out, including a very nice the Keanu Reeves print that's currently being made available. You've also got the Avengers Endgame one that has been shown already. But this weekend, Patrick Ballesteros also announced a 50 years of pop culture print. It's oversized and is going to be available actually on his booth in Artist Alley. And it also pairs up to something that we're going to be seeing tomorrow, announced by San Diego Comic-Con. They have announced teased a small section of piece of artwork featuring Spawn, which is definitely moving in a background of the convention center. You can just see the arches behind Spawn, and there's definitely different characters that are floating around. Loads of people speculating about what this is going to be. We suspect it's going to be a souvenir guide or a limited edition print. My personal guess, a limited edition print with numerous characters. It could either be nothing but Image comics, which could be rather cool, considering that the souvenir guides have always been either Marvel or DC. Image has never really had a shoe in, certainly in the last 10, 15 years. So it'd be good to actually have Image comics showcased on a San Diego Comic-Con limited edition something, either a print or whatever. But it'd be rather cool to have a print of the convention center with the actual Image Comics characters of numerous decades, especially celebrating their anniversary as well, across the convention center. However, the unofficial blog has made the speculation, and I quite like this one as well, that it's a multi-company piece of artwork, which would be incredibly cool to have Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Image, IDW, all of their characters bouncing around and making quite a spectacle of themselves inside the framing of the San Diego Convention Center. That would be particularly tasty indeed. We find out about that tomorrow. We have had all of our special guests announced for San Diego Comic-Con. That finished last Monday, so this will be their Monday announcement for this week. Into the Blue Mister. Leonard, are you going to try and hook up with a video link with Nerd Friends during the Sunday of the con? I'm going to try and get video links across the board. Yes, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to try and do that on the Sunday, but I am going to try. End of the day, it is going to be very early on Sunday morning, and people have got things to do. They're lining up, they're attending panels, and they're wanting to try and get the most out of their weekend. Absolutely. I will try and get somebody on the ground because at the end of the day, we won't be, or I won't be doing my post-con wrap-up because I ain't going to be there. I can't provide any insight shy of what people kind of share with me. So, no, I think I will try and do something on the Sunday, fingers crossed. Let's have a look at this. The year it's cancelled, I can say The Walking Dead has died. Yeah, I think that's very safe to say. Let's have a look at what else has been announced. I think the only thing that kind of jumped out at me, we do know that ABC is bringing Stumptown to San Diego Comic-Con. I believe it's going to be a Hall H announcement. This is based on the Oni Press book by Greg Rucka and Matthew Southworth. I'm a huge fan of this book, and to see that we've got a great production team behind it and a fantastic actress taking on that particular role in the Stumptown, I think is going to be very cool indeed. You do suspect to have a panel with Kobe Spaulders, and she's going to be appearing on stage to talk about the show. Maybe a Ballroom 20 thing. It's more than likely, but either way, I suspect that is going to be one of the next big shows to get a real big push. So ABC's Stumptown coming to San Diego Comic-Con. Let's have a look at this. Andrew Dickinson, Leo, see what Marvel has just put on Twitter. Okay, this may be a live breaking thing. Let's see what they say. Obviously, we're not going to be getting Marvel going to be appearing at we're not going to see Marvel appearing in Hall H, unfortunately, but they are going to be having various other things out and about. But let's have a look. Spiderweb with a 4. Ah, okay. Let's have a look at this. So this is Marvel Comics. A Spiderweb with a 4. Yeah, it's a strange one. Is this? Let's see if I can just screen share this at least, then that people can kind of see what people are looking at. No, it won't let me share it. Typical. Never mind. Okay, that's a shame. Thank you very much indeed, Hangouts, for being so useful. There we go. But yeah, if you want to head to the Marvel Twitter, Spiderweb with a 4. Who knows where that's going? But it is a comics announcement, so. Who knows where that's going to be announced, possibly on the booth itself. But there we go. Sarita P, Mattel and Icon Heroes are doing their pre-order exclusives tomorrow. The Mattel figures I have not been particularly impressed with, to be fair. I have been most impressed by the likes of Icon Heroes and also Sideshow as well. Their figures are very nice this year. If you do get the chance to check them out, they're very impressive. Andrew English, Spider-Man Fantastic Four crossover, very possible. That's also been speculated by Sir Lister of Smeg as well. Leanne D, is Marvel out of Hall H, or did I miss it? Yes, that has been confirmed by the high-ups that Marvel Studios will not be bringing something to Hall H this year. Oh, sorry, no, it's WB that is not going to be bringing to Hall H this year. Sorry, I do apologize. I'm getting a little all confused. Marvel has not been confirmed yet what's going to be happening with Hall H, but we have heard speculation from a couple of sites about what's Phase 4 and what that's going to look like. A number of the films and the slate has been announced for the next couple of years, and 2020 is going to be a big year for Marvel, so they are wanting to push it, but it's how far in advance. The last time they did that, when they actually put out quite a large roster, even to 2 years ahead of schedule. It ended up being a complete rollback when you had Inhumans cancelled, you had the Spider-Man changes, what with the deal that was done with Sony. They may not want to speculate too far. It may be a celebration of the last 10 years, But I think that's what Endgame was all about, quite frankly. So whether you're actually going to get that at Hall H, that's a whole other ball game. So sorry, Leandy, I didn't mean to scare you on that one. Nothing confirmed for Marvel just yet. So there we go. Right then, thank you very much indeed for joining us today. Thank you very much indeed to Dom as well for talking about slabbing. Hopefully it's something that you might want to get into. It's something that I've been intrigued with to kind of make that kind of speculation. The one thing that this year has taught me, with me not coming to San Diego this year, is how to afford and how to make my fandom work for me, to kind of allow me to continue to do what I want to do in terms of attending shows like this. And yes, speculation may be the way to do it. I think it's safe to say those people that get the lottery slots for lining up for Funko, when they're spending $1,400–1,500 on full sets, they're not buying it for their nieces and nephews. They're buying it to flip and to fund the rest of their trip, which I totally understand and appreciate in 2019. So there we go. Other things that are going to be happening, we might as well very quickly talk about next weekend. I am going to be attending a convention on the Saturday. This is going to be MacPow. It's held in Macclesfield, which is about an hour and a half, an hour 45 minutes away from here in where I'm based in the Yorkshire. It's just on the other side of Manchester, in a suburb just out on the other side, to the south of Manchester, Macclesfield. They have a ideal spot to get a number of indie artists and indie creators, and it's very much a show that is based around the UK indie comic scene. I'm going to be hosting two panels, which I'm really looking forward to. We've got one which is based around indie creators. So we have Hannah Berry, who is the UK's Comics Laureate. We've got Rachel Smith, who's an incredible self-publishing illustrator who does some fantastic books, especially dealing with personal issues, with mental health, with just positivity and empowerment. She's an incredible artist, so definitely looking forward to talking to her, and also to David Leach as well. That's going to be a 45-minute conversation about him. Basically, I'm going to do a mini review of MacPow. That's next week's show. While we're also going to be speaking to Jamie Milner. Now, here in the UK, that name will be a little bit familiar for those people who attend conventions here in the UK. Jamie Milner is the guy. He's the creator and also the organizer of Wales Comic Con. Now, for the past number of years, that has been taking over one of the university spaces in Wrexham. And that's all well and good, except the show has outgrown the location. And as such, they have been offered to move to another location for their second show of the year, a little bit closer to winter. It's a little bit colder. And in the past, people who have attended going to Wrexham have been rained on because the lines have been going outside. This new venue is a little bit better. It's all enclosed and people will be nice and warm. But it ain't in Wales. So it's going to be the Wales Comic Con, the Telford Takeover, which is just to the east of Wales. There's a little bit of a kind of dip in the line, and it's on the other side of the border. It's certainly not Wales, where Wrexham is based. So I'm going to be speaking to Jamie Milner next week about the Telford Takeover, why he felt that this was the time for this show to happen, what he's got planned for the show coming up, and all sorts of conversation pieces as well. Any questions that you have for Jamie, please join in and put them to him. He's a fascinating guy, and I'm looking forward to having Jamie Milner on next week's show. Thank you very much indeed for joining us today. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've enjoyed our conversation with Dom. Do take care. Hope your preparation for San Diego Comic-Con is going well. In a couple of weeks' time, we're going to start getting into panels proper, the official announcements about what's going to be presented at San Diego Comic-Con, and we're going to get into all of that. The news is starting to trickle out. The panels are starting to get announced. People are getting into position, and definitely the ball is starting to roll as we are fast approaching San Diego Comic-Con 2019. If you are attending this year, hopefully your badge has arrived. Hopefully you're getting ready, and we'll start getting into more conversations about San Diego as the weeks go on. Take care, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and as always, please, if you do enjoy what we do, support on the Patreon page, patreon.com/EnglishmanSDCC. Till then, we'll see you soon. Take care.